we are. Welcome to my December energy update. Hello, all my friends in the chat. I'm going to be checking in with you guys throughout this energy update because we've just got massive themes to discuss. And of course, any major questions, hold them until the end because we'll have plenty of time for that. And really, that's what I want to bring into this energy update. We have one super massive important theme. Now, as you guys know, I will channel several themes, but sort of download I got for this update was we have a massive theme, and all the astrology from whether we are talking about Sagittarius season, Mercury retrograde, to the winter solstice. If we all pause for a second in this collective present moment right now, outside of space and time, everything, whether it's now or comes around later, is bringing us to this point. And that is why today's theme is epiphany. Okay. Think about the word epiphany. Let's take it in for a moment. Divine clarity, right? Self realization, maybe sudden perception. December is about epiphany. This is the month that you will have maybe several epiphanies, or you will be doing so much clearing that you will get to that point of epiphany. So I want you guys to, yes, I love seeing your guys' response to this. So humor me for a minute. I'm driving yesterday and I was like, okay, higher self, you're telling me we're just going to be talking about epiphany, right? So like, let me get the download of what my definition is. What is my quantum sphere healer definition? True epiphany is just seeing life through the eyes of source. Let's just step back for a moment. Think about any time in your life you have actually gotten that glimpse and go, oh, yes, thank you. Now, when we reach an epiphany, it doesn't actually maybe answer a question that we have, right? Maybe we don't know why something happened, but it's peace. Everything energetically this month is conspiring to bring you more peace. And if you think, well, there's a Mercury retrograde, how's that going to happen? It's so going to happen. You guys, we're going to bring in some trust here. And what I want to do to really anchor in the energy here is if we can all for a moment do this. And also, if you're watching this later as a replay, do this too. So this is what I want you guys to do. This is just a very small modified version of my core essence. Just bring your attention and your intention to your heart center. Deep breath. Just think of something you are grateful for right now. Let's all connect to this space because this is very important. Okay. Just feel that stillness right now. I want you to really remember what this feels like. This is going to help you with your realization of those epiphanies, because this is what we know about epiphanies. They come in a simple way, right? And it's this glimpse of, oh, I see why. When I felt into that download, I was actually driving. I was at a red light. I look up and I see this massive 888 on the building about really seeing eyes through the eye of source. Seeing life through the eyes of source this month. And this perspective is key for anything moving forward for the next 4 weeks. But also in this energy update, we are going to talk about preparation for 2025. And we're actually going to do altogether a crystal grid. So I want you to just kind of keep this in mind as you watch this energy update. So the big thing about epiphany, it's going to relate to our shamanic animal totem. We're going to talk about that soon, and the crystal of the month. And the shamanic totem is probably one of the more controversial ones because, people have a lot of interpretations on what they think it is, whether it's coming from something religious or from, ancient civilizations of the world. So I'm just teasing this a little bit because it's all going to come together very shortly. So I want you guys to think about epiphany for a second, okay? We know what it means. We know what we're looking for. The big theme underneath this is how much we have been working on our core wounding and our karmic lessons. I have talked about Chiron being in retrograde, right? Back in August, we brought this up. It goes direct December 30th, okay? The past few months, if you have been very stressed out, if you have experienced any kind of difficulty, it may be because you are doing that work to look at that core wounding, okay? So the karmic lessons are ramping up. The things that you have done actually will be bringing you into that space, that glimpse of clarity. Now, the last energy update, we talked about the panther. Do you guys remember when I was talking about how the panther comes alive when it's most challenged, when it's on its last breath or last legs? And then I shared a song lyric. So, very beautifully, my higher self reminded me of another song lyric. And I want to share this with you guys now or early in this update. So it's very important to what we are working through with Chiron. So, of course, my higher self reminds me of this Taylor Swift song called Epiphany. Super perfect. I just remembered it today. Okay. I'm not trying to convert all you guys into my favorite thing right now. But let me tell you what. In this song, she talks about how her grandpa served in World War II and was so traumatized by what he saw, he went silent. No one knew what battle he was in. They knew it was just extremely, bloody and traumatic. And they tried to research to find out what he was even in, right? So no one really knows like what happened, what he saw. But the song speaks to something you see, a trauma you experience, so grand that you go silent, right? You just can't talk about it. So there's a lyric about just there's some things in life you cannot speak about. What we are seeing is that what we've looked at with this Chiron retrograde is those things in life we can't speak about have come forward in the last few months. And if this comes forward, really engage with this with your inner child. And so in this lyric, or in this song, she's also talking about all the nurses who worked in the hospitals in 2020, right? And for the first time, they're seeing these things. They are helping people through plastic, all those things, right? All those traumas you cannot prepare for. Well, what we want to know and what we're asking higher self is like, higher self, how do we make sense of this? So when you look at yourself, when you look at what you are processing, those things maybe that you don't want to talk about, you are so safe to do that. And I'm going to explain to you the different elements that are going to help you do that this month. The key of this song, there's this lyric that says, you only get 20 minutes to sleep, but in that time, you dream of some epiphany. And she says, just one single glimpse of relief to make sense of what you've seen. Okay, so she's talking about that glimpse of relief and you make sense of what you see. This is not a bold statement. I am telling you, in December, you're going to get that glimpse to make sense of what you have seen in your life around you. That moment that goes, okay, I'm seeing through the eyes of Source. Does this make sense? I know it's saying, whoa, Susan, you're promising something really huge here. I'm going to have that moment through all my struggles to go, oh, this is why I want to be here. This is why I chose to be here. Whatever your sort of a spiritual relationship is to being on earth, maybe, this is why I chose to incarnate in this lifetime, in this family structure, you name it. Make room for your December epiphany. That's what we are talking about, to make sense of what you've seen. So think about this. And maybe right now you aren't thinking about your personal stuff. You're just watching this. This is going into your subconscious. What kind of things are going on in the world, right? So when I think of this song, when I think of the collective, well, I think of the images I've seen of what, the children in Gaza are experiencing. And I do wonder what's their epiphany? How do they make sense of what they've seen and what they've lost and that trauma? So if you want to process this and think about it this way collectively, that might actually be the doorway for you to have your individual epiphany and to understand this, okay? Why am I talking about epiphany today, you guys? Let me tell you. We're talking about epiphany because we're getting shamanic now. We are gathering all the soul pieces and we are experiencing the fullness of life. When you have an epiphany about something and you feel that, oh, it's full, it's warm, it's just divine. And the crystal of the month, divine. Animal totem, divine. So we will of course get to that in a minute, but there's a reason this is the only major theme for this month, because it's important, it's powerful. It is what we have all been collectively working towards, and building. Make room for that epiphany for yourself. Really, really feel into how important this is. Now, the first 2 weeks of December, now we're going to get more into the astrology here. Clarity. Why? Well, we have Mars retrograde on the 6th, okay? This is just going to pull us even deeper into our inner world, our introspection, the retrospection. This will go until February, but don't worry, all these things, like I said, present, continuous, long moment, you'll still get those epiphanies. This is very important because it's going to play in with Mercury retrograde, right? Here we are. I hope you guys are enjoying your first couple of days of this retrograde. I want to say that I am, only because I know that when I've tuned into it, I go, okay, what is the meaning of a retrograde? It means to slow down. So when you slow down this month, when you slow down your nervous system, you're making room to receive that epiphany. Believe it or not, I've seen this in healing sessions. We are blocking, we are not receiving that insight. We think, you know what? Why aren't I getting downloads from my higher self? What's going on here? Well, a lot of it has to do with, feeling worthy enough to receive that divine connection. And maybe that epiphany for you this month will be like, I'm finally seeing it. I'm finally receiving that. That is very important. So just kind of really, state to yourself before you go to bed how worthy you are of deceiving, well, of receiving that higher guidance. Very important. The big theme of this retrograde now, so let's get into more guidance with this time period. We go to the 15th. Just be flexible. Be flexible with your plans. Something shifts, learn how to flow. But also, that Chiron retrograde is really about being in our feels and feeling our way through this. The core wounds, like I mentioned, the karmic lessons, all of this is what we're shifting. And this is a good time to, continue to practice those boundaries, because what's happening between now and February is actually us responding to what's coming up within us, but also rewiring. So think of using this retrograde to rewire your responses. Are you going to act right away on something? In some cases, you might need to, right? Regardless of what's going on. That's just life. But you are rewiring, meaning you might respond differently in a higher way. Maybe in that super high perspective that you have received from some sort of epiphany, or what you are creating, right? So I do want to make a point with the old relationships that come up during a retrograde. We've all heard about this. This is similar to August in that it's just opportunities for harmony, reconciliation, if that's what's going on, if that's what you're calling forward. This is just a time to reflect about what you want from your current relationships in your life as well, right? Peace can be at the forefront. Whatever you need to do, I'm just not tapping into this kind of like violent shaking of someone coming back. This is really about us, embodying that sovereignty and making some choices that reflect what we want to see. And it's all going to be relating to what Chiron is doing for you in your personal chart. So, you can consult your astrologer, see what's going on there. I do also want to recommend, if you guys have kind of a reaction to Mercury in retrograde, you can do some color therapy to harmonize your relationship to Mercury. So gray is a color that actually is very harmonious with the planet's energy. So you can wear gray, you can have a gray candle, have the intention to make harmony with that retrograde. Greens and blues also are a big thing. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention Jupiter and Sagittarius right now. So if you want during this retrograde to be in that expanded state, to have that luck, that joy, that prosperity, to feel like things are working out, you can also harmonize with Jupiter energy. And you can think about indigos, like dark blue. Those are really good for activating that Jupiter energy. So like I said, you can wear that color, have that intention of that's what you're doing. Work with that energy. It's just really going to help you this month. So in addition to that, so we've talked about epiphany and really like this word, this concept. Go listen to the song later. Really feel into this. What I want you to know is like, just really reflect on the key things that have shaped your life and who you are up until this moment. This is what you are recalibrating and rewiring during this retrograde. So what's not serving me? What's actually really serving me? It's actually just really beautiful because what you're saying is I'm releasing this in 2024 and here's what I'm embodying in 2025. This really is a true inner voyage, and the leader of this within you is going to be that Sagittarius energy. It's saying I'm taking this on as an adventure. We're really going to go on a journey into the self to expand with harmony with Jupiter, all that good stuff. So my advice during this retrograde is to be the archer, okay? Let that guide you. And you're going to be safe and protected because, as we know, Sagittarius is the only sign with a weapon. So you should feel safe holding a giant bow and arrow. So I think that's a good moment for me to have a sip of my water as, all that fun energy in my Sagittarius stuff integrates. So just give me a second here. Okay. So brought up that big, expansive Sagittarius energy. I do want to mention, if you're watching this now, Saturday is the new moon in Sagittarius. Is anyone I'm going to check the chat. Are you guys feeling this energy? I tend to be energized in new moons, and it's very exciting. Thank you for liking my mug, Irma, and all the amazing things you guys have been saying here in the chat. Like I said, I've been glancing over. It's so nice to see you guys live here. I so appreciate this. I just love the collective energy that everyone is bringing to this. So I just want to take a moment to thank you. Now, new moon and Sag, really do something that enriches your soul. Perfect practice for Saturday. And you know what? If that's not, if you don't think about that Saturday, really doing stuff that enriches your soul should be a practice for all of us here. We're not here to do anything that doesn't really inspire us, right? The light work that we do, the way we support ourselves. Think of that. Also, Saturday is just a good day for memory retention. So if there's a topic you guys really like, engage with that, study with that. I'm excited. New moon and Sag on my birthday. I'm thrilled. I'm definitely going to use that day to get the most out of this energy too. Now, I mentioned Chiron already. I just want you guys know that when we move into the January energy update, what's going to happen here is that we're going to do a way to create a template, an energy template for the new year. However, the crystal grid, if you watch to the end of this, is going to bring that process forward because we've got the winter solstice, okay? Very excited. So let's talk about the winter solstice. Thank you for the birthday wishes. I appreciate it. The winter solstice on 12/21. What is that? That's big palindrome energy. I'm not going to mansplain palindromes, but it's something spelled the same. So like the word mom, we know palindrome energy, right? So think of 12/21. Think of that mirror. That's just double the fun. Double the fun on the winter solstice. Double the fun with your manifestations, how intentional you're going to be, amplifying those manifestations. It's a good day to work with clear quartz, to all my crystal people as well. So now I have an entire video on the winter solstice. It's very important to me. I am a winter solstice girly through and through. You can watch this here on my YouTube channel. At the end of it, we have some activations. You want to say them out loud. We want our vibration, sound, to carry through the universe. It is for harmony. It's for prosperity and what you want to call into your life for 2025. So I guess I want to say the crux of this is like why the winter solstice is so important too is that, in Latin, it translates to the sun standing still. So what do we think about like winter, right? Stillness, slowing down, going within that quiet of like the first snow of winter, right? It absorbs sound. So it's very quiet. So this is pretty powerful to have it on 12/21. We've seen this before, but the point is always engage with the numerology of these dates here. It's a good day to change the direction of your life. So whatever epiphanies you have will play into this. Also, this is when you set your New Year's intentions. We don't, they come out a little weird, wonky when you do them on the 31st. That's the end of the year. The 21st is the beginning of the new year, okay? So big intention setting day. Watch my video. Like I said, clear instructions. It's just called Winter Solstice Activation. And I want to talk about now the crystal grid. for your winter solstice activations. So let me see my gingerbread real quick. The pressure is on for a January mug. I've got some options, so we'll get to that in a moment. So this is what I think will support you the most with your calling in your epiphanies, with receiving the divine guidance from your higher self and from your guides here. So I do this instruction, guided thing in my winter solstice video where you're going to write down all those intentions for the new year. We say them to ourselves. We bond with that. We trust in what we're calling into the world, right? And then what we do is we burn this with we go outside and we burn the piece of paper. The fire is, of course, our alchemical element to send those intentions up into the higher realms. Now, what I'm suggesting is when you write down your winter solstice intentions, to make a grid with every crystal of the month that we have had from the moment I started doing these updates. I'm going to list them for you. Now, here's the thing. If you already have the crystals, cool, use them. If you don't, no problem at all. You will use what you have. The intention is there. Also know if there's a crystal that you want, but you go, okay, I don't want to go buy this and do this right now. Get some clear quartz and program that with your intention, the qualities of any of the crystals of the month, okay? That's some real quantum business. That's a hot tip. So think about that. Okay. So with this said, what you can do is place every crystal of the month, almost make this grid. You can do it like a week before to kind of soak in the energy. Or what you can do is, and Irma, I knew you'd love this. Yes. Yes, my witchy sister, we got this. What I want you to do is not follow, and like this is for a reason. Everything I say when it comes to grid work has a divine purpose. Well, now if you grid work and you like to use pre-existing like sacred geometry patterns and stuff, do that for whatever you want to do. But for this, don't use anything. This is all you. Just put it on a piece of paper. You have your intentions, right? You guys wrote those down, and then place the crystals in any way or formation you want. This is you channeling your divine guidance for this exercise. I intuitively am drawn when I'm thinking of how I want to do it. I'll probably, create some sort of a circle or a pattern. So really make this about you. And also, I definitely recommend for this as well. I know it's exciting to share your creations. This is special. This is for you. I wouldn't personally take a picture and post it just because you don't need anyone else's energy going into this. This is for you. This is your energy and what you are creating for yourself in 2025. Okay, so you can do this with the winter solstice exercise, or if you want, just get like a single note card or a piece of paper, and you can write one very specific intention. If this is like the big thing you've been working on, right? And then put those crystals there. So for example, strong immune system, that's a good one. Or say there's a project. I finished writing my book and I find a publisher, or I generate $10,000 in sales, or I sell 20 new paintings, whatever is going on that you really want to call into your life. And remember the black tourmaline from last month. That's very important to ground that energy into Gaia, right? But then when we burn the piece of paper, everything's going up into the field, into the quantum, just to infinity, right? So also know here, your intentions when you like burn the piece of paper, really take a moment to like take this energy in and then release it. We don't make a copy of this. Like we're really trusting what we are doing. So let me just review. It'll actually be hilarious if I leave any of these out. We talked about smoky quartz. So smoky quartz, pyrite. I brought those in actually last December. This is a 1-year anniversary of doing a crystal of the month. So I'm excited that you guys like this part of the video, which we're about to get to. So pyrite, smoky quartz, Tibetan quartz. Remember that was for January. Labradorite, hunzite, rhodonite, citrine. I'm wearing citrine right now. March's crystal of the month. Don't sleep on citrine. You guys want prosperity. You want to call goodness into your life. Have citrine go into your crystal grid. Blue calcite. Remember that for April when we had that eclipse. This is like a little life review journey we're doing right now. Malachite. Malachite and citrine together, you guys, powerful duo for optimal health, prosperity, calling in all the goodness of life. That's a big one too. The next thing we're going to do is lapis lazuli. You remember that one? Big ancient Egypt vibes. Yeah, this is a good one. And of course, we have carnelian, we have honey calcite, moonstone. I mentioned black tourmaline. Last month, what did we have? We had fluorite. Yeah. So think about that. If you can see behind me, this little Christmas tree, that is someone gifted that to me. That is a massive piece of Mexican fluorite here. And it's more of a green hue, which is great for cleansing and all sorts of those activations. Sorry, guys, give me a minute here. I didn't really adjust the video. So with that said, okay, you guys can see it. Okay, perfect. So now don't forget to add December's crystal of the month to your grid. Are we ready for it, my friends? It's heavy. You see that? Celestite. Take a moment. Bond with this piece of celestite. So, of course, it's a geode. Just take a moment. Look how beautiful and dreamlike celestite is. Add this to your crystal grid for the divine. Just supercharge that with the energy of the divine. So, really, before I go into some specifics about this, when you look at this, take a moment and kind of just intuit and communicate with this crystal. Feel into this. So, you can see why it's associated with dream time. It just looks so dreamy and sparkly and beautiful, and people describe it as angelic. So it is known for connection to the angelic realms, any sort of angelic channeling. When I look at this, when I feel this, I get 11th density. I just see 11. So that's really the energy that I see this. Okay, I just love what Shannon said. I want to call this out. This is the color of epiphany for me. Absolutely. And maybe that's what was going on subconsciously when I really tuned into what the crystal of the month would be. Absolutely looks like epiphany. It looks like the perfect almost December winter stone here. So when we look at it, it's dreamlike. It's going to support with your astral travel work. Really understanding and remembering your dreams. Very important. You know, Moonstone had that kind of similar effect as well. So with like the whole dream work. And so definitely just think about this. It's super high vibrational. This added to any, what did we just talk about? Grids. There it is. Any grid. Oh, yeah, that is just going to lift the vibration of anything around you. If you are a therapist, you work in an office where you see people where you help talk them through any kind of trauma, this is what you want to keep in your office. Just keep it in your space. I've had this with me the last month as I did all my energy healing sessions. It just brought so much peace. You know, people can really feel the peace. And yeah, the name is celestial. And it is also referred to as Celestine as well. Now, this is not, I actually was not aware of this. There's this whole area of celestite. It's Ohio celestite. So these are more like tubular, and they are used in Reiki. A lot of Reiki practitioners like that for how they work with energy. I'm not a Reiki practitioner, so I don't work that way. I practice, as you guys know, quantum sphere healing. So I'm not sure how that comes in to their energy healing sessions, but people have a lot of success. So that is a specific one. The one I'm talking about, so this one comes from Madagascar. And let's talk about the energy about this. Access to the higher realms, really understanding this reality as well. It's going to help on the mental plane, bring in that clarity for you guys. Also, third eye, crown, big activations here. Peace, serenity. When you look at it, it looks like peace and serenity. So it all makes sense. Bringing this, if you just want to feel like a higher vibrational boost in your life, that's why you want to work with this. It's just going to attract that into your life. It's associated with Venus and Neptune. It's gentle, right? It's uplifting. It's so mothering. I feel so nurtured by having this around me. This is also good to just keep on your nightstand for calm sleep. It's great for anxiety. And people like this for communication with their higher guidance, right? With their spirit guides. They also associate it like with their guardian angels. So if you think of things in that form of like, guardian angels. I want to feel like safe. I want that kind of protection. That's why you would have celestite. It's good for conflict resolution. It'll get you into meditation. If it's hard for you to jump into meditation, it's going to support you with that. So, really thirsty tonight. Let's see. Let me tell you guys, the moment you start a YouTube or you go, I'm going to make a video, you'll be fine the whole day. The moment you push record, you're thirsty, your nose is running, all that fun stuff, but we're going to power through here. So a few more things. This is going to help you with receiving psychic information. This is going to help you with intuition. This is going to help you reach those epiphanies. And it's very important to remember, yes, we're slowing down. Epiphany isn't something you control. Like, okay, let me plan and set up my epiphany. It's going to happen. It's going to be simple. It's going to come to you in a very beautiful moment. And you know it's divine because you can feel it. You're going to know the difference between a moment of clarity and something else versus that divine epiphany. And remember the feeling of like, this is why I'm here. This is why I'm doing this. This is why I'm going to be okay. This is why I went through all those traumas. This is why the past year has been just so horrendous, or it's whatever it's been for you. You're going to have that moment that goes, oh, it's going to feel right here. You're going to go, I'm going to be okay. It's going to be okay. This crystal is going to also help you get to it's going to be okay. It's also going to help you go into thriving. It will gently clean your auric field, right? It brings in hope. It brings in trust of the divine. So many good things here. Keep this if you're a healer in your healing room. Like I said, if you just want someone to feel safe with you in your home, that's what you want to use this crystal for as well. It's actually very auspicious to gift this to someone. So if you do want to give someone a gift this month, give them this. This is perfect for that. It just helps the emotional body really feel that uplifting energy. It has been used for people who are like hypochondriacs, or they need to overcome some sort of mental fear or paranoia. It's used by some healers to clear spirit attachments. I do that a very different way in my energy healing sessions. But I mean, if there's a crystal that's going to support you, we talked about black tourmaline. This is also used for that. I intuitively think it has to do with those higher light beings that can kind of help you come in and clear something. I do connect to that type of energy when I'm working on clients and, have them pick up these entities and send them just back where they came from. I have a specific method of doing that. So just kind of feel in to say, okay, if I want to feel a little bit safer in my home or in my aura, in my auric field, yeah, this is what you want to do. What it's really going to do is create trust in the divine and also your divine wisdom. Last year, I believe, it may have even been 2 years ago, like our inner wisdom and our divine wisdom were like massive themes. That's all going to come together automatically this month to really create the epiphanies that you're calling forward in your life. So we've got a crystal that will accelerate it. Now, when we get into the animal totem, you'll see why. You'll see why it all ties together. And you'll see why you get those glimpses. So if it's relief, well, this is a crystal that also symbolizes relief, right? We went back to that song lyric, that relief to kind of make sense of everything. Bring this in for that kind of breakthrough. Okay. It's also good for breakthroughs. That's going to be malachite. So you can also pair it with that as well. If you want any support, if you got any public speaking stuff, this is what you want to use. Now, it does support the throat center. I know I mentioned it's mostly known for the pineal gland, right? And the crown. But if you want for some throat physical healing, get a little piece and you're going to tape it to the base of the neck, or you can massage it. That's going to support any throat conditions. So it's also used in lots of like homeopathy, but we'll get to that in a minute. Very cool stuff. So have this too for just making decisions. You want a clear, rational decision. For some reason, most of the crystals of the month I've received support clairaudience. This is another one for clairaudience. And then, of course, if you want to really feel into your own divine wisdom, if you just want some hope, good fortune, bring this in. This is a stone for artists as well. And I just like kind of heard too about this, like musicians. And if you're in something like, if you're doing something delicate, like if you paint with watercolor, if you're composing, you need to be in that space. You want to use this. This, I get watercolor vibes for sure when I look at celestite. It's also known as celestine. I don't know if I said that too. You can combine this with Herkimer diamond for boundaries, just asserting yourself, the vocal boundaries as well, all kinds of emotional support. So Herkimer diamond, very important stone. It's likely going to be a crystal of the month very soon. But if you already want to work with that, go for it as well. And also know too, like put this under your pillow, get that restful sleep, use it to come into meditation. In Feng Shui, they say to put this in the northwest corner of your home. That's going to be what like activates the creativity in yourself and in the home. So, think about that. If you are working through karmic past lives, it's said you can sleep with this under your pillow or when you are meditating to help work through that. So we talked about karmic past lives. Well, where's that coming up? That's coming up in Chiron, right? With the retrograde and those lessons coming through. So this will help bring those up to realizations. So if you want a little bit more clarity on this, what I would say is like, what's a pattern you keep repeating? You know it, you see it, and now kind of take on the challenge in December of saying, I'm going to act differently. This is the pattern I'm breaking. Being in that headspace is how you will just succeed and thrive during this Chiron retrograde here. So a lot of big important things coming through with the Celestine here. So I love that a lot of you guys like this. Cleanse it with hematite. Funny, right? Hematite's very grounding. That's how you want to cleanse it. Also, I charge it in selenite. I've been cleansing and charging this over like a big selenite bowl. So if that resonates with you as well. Okay. Last thing I want to remind you in your big collective crystal of the month grid, bring this in for that higher dimensional boost, that divinity. Infuse your grid with serenity. And what this also infuses the grid with is divine trust. Sound good? We're making good time because I really wanted to spend time with the crystal of with the animal totem, which is what we are going to talk about now. So at first glance, you guys, think about what I just talked about with celestite and think about, okay, what kind of animal totem is she going to talk about? Well, what's controversial? What's so ancient and powerful? Today's animal totem is the serpent. Serpent. Let me give you a moment to take that in and see where that lands with everybody. Serpent energy. Oh, the power of serpent energy. So let's take a step back. We might have some sort of like religious association with that growing up, and people will associate that with, the snake entering the garden. It is what you said, Irma, and I had to stay quiet because I didn't want to talk about it during the first 2 minutes of this update. When I saw those snake emojis, I went, oh, she's locked in. Okay. So religious, upbringing people, we'll call it that. It's been associated with the devil, right? And people will use the serpent to insult. Oh, what a snake, right? Look at how you slither in and you do this and you do that. Okay. What the serpent is divine wisdom. It is knowledge. It is the tree of knowledge. It's associated with Hermes, with Sophia. It is Shakti. It is that divine feminine power and force that operates life, the divine feminine. Yes, of course, Kundalini energy as well, sexual energy, manifestation, creation. And so it's very interesting too when we talk about this. So if this is also such a strong representative of the feminine and Shakti, how funny to have political and religious authority want to shame and control and oppress the divine feminine through animal symbolism as well. The serpent is mythical. It's magical. It has a reputation for a reason. And that's what we're really going to break down today, because think about rebirth, resurrection, initiation. Initiation is a big one, especially guys with past lives in ancient Egypt. I know it's a lot of you. I'm tapping in. It also represents the wisdom of all the reptiles, all of them. Pretty cool, huh? Very cool. When I said that, I just tapped into Elle Driver in Kill Bill 2 when she's describing the power of the black mamba, and she goes, "Pretty cool, huh?" If I don't quote a movie or like a song, I'll like destruct. Sorry. So back on track. Let's talk about this. Now, it also, of course, is tied to the ancient alchemists and the symbolic transmutation, right, of lead into gold, and then the higher wisdom that comes. And then, thank you, Irma, inner transformation as well. Also, we know the cycle, right, of like death and birth is symbolized too of like the Ouroboros, right? We know that the ancient imagery of the snake swallowing its own tail and the symbol of eternity. But here's the thing, serpent energy. The snake is going through its own energetic upgrade and it is evolving into dragon energy. There will be a whole time to talk about dragon energy. So basically the serpent eating its own tail. That think let's all we know that imagery. Let's all like think about it. Now it's understood and being said that it's evolving into dragon energy, which yields the highest wisdom and power. Dragon energy is no joke. And how funny is it that 2024 in Chinese astrology was the year of the dragon? And you guys know what 2025 is? The year of the snake. Yeah. Let's have a moment for that mic drop. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. It's really good water. So I only drink the best water. So let's talk about this. Now, when you come across the snake, it is going to represent change and healing and making very quick shifts after that realization. We can also say you will be making shifts after your epiphany. You see how it's all coming together? Ah, I love it. My personal advice with this is when you know, you know. This isn't working. Great, make the shift. It's actually not about, well, it's Mercury in retrograde. I'm not supposed to take action or make the shift. We're going to embody the serpent discernment, and we're going to know that sometimes you need to act. And that's what the serpent does, okay? The snake does not get analysis paralysis. Oh my God, what should I do? No, the snake strikes and the snake never misses its mark. Very, very rarely will that happen, okay? So think about that when you need something. You know what doesn't miss its mark? The archer. Yeah. Sag be the archer. Think about how important this is. This is huge. Now, apply this to your life now. Apply this to what you're creating. You're not going to miss the mark. You're really going to go after things. What's fascinating, if you have the serpent as your animal totem, if you really liked snakes as a kid, it actually represents that you may have had a very difficult upbringing and you had to grow up very fast. If we look at reptiles in general too, like think of like the skin and its scaling, you had to be tough very early in life. Serpent totem people, you are powerful. You have survived. You know what it's like to take care of yourself, to mature very early in life, and to really cut through a lot of the BS, and to also know when someone's throwing venom at you and really what to do with that. So if you're called venomous, for example, if you're setting a boundary, if you're taking care of yourself, don't fall into any of that type of like gaslighting this month. Well, like ever. Like this is about owning those boundaries. So serpent energy does help that with like the discernment and what you need to focus on, okay? And it also means though, as an adult now, if you went through a massive change in your life, really kind of think of your life. We're kind of in this sort of life review moment here. Just think about this. What that means is it means some sort of ego death occurred, right? But it also is representing now a very important initiation and rebirth. So if you in the last year or so have an affinity, I do too, with my with serpent energy, yeah, absolute rebirth. I've been working with this totem for the last year now, and the insights have been amazing. I was always afraid of snakes as a kid. I was like, I know their power. I do not want to get bit by a snake. I still don't. When I'm in Sedona, I'm very cautious over like when you're like, don't move rocks around. You guys kind of know that type of thing. But I know when they're there. There was a rattlesnake pretty close to me when I was filming a video. I just kind of like said, okay, I don't feel like I'm in its zone. It's going to be okay. I heard people freak out about it. I just kind of finished my thought and I left, and it's all good. So I'm bringing this forward for a reason. And the reason is, in some Native American traditions, what happened was, like, because it's such a powerful symbol of transformation and healing, there would be a snake ceremony where a person would, have to transmute snake poison through their body. And if they survived, that meant that they could survive all the poisons of the world. So they get bit by a snake, they transmute that. I'm like kind of putting it out there to higher self. Like, I don't need to have that happen. So, well, I hope that you guys do that too. Just kind of respect its power and learn from it without, having to get bit and kind of go through that process of, fighting it off with your immune system. I want to see what you guys are saying here. Yeah, Grand Canyon. Mm-hmm. Yep. See? And you also, David. Yep. Stepped on one. Oh boy. Well, hope you guys are okay. When they strike, the first strike of a rattlesnake, there's like some venom. Yeah. Second strike, like, just back up. The second strike is more deadly. So, just a fun fact. I was studying on energy vortices or vortexes. People say vortexes now. I thought it was vortices. Anyway, and I went through a spiral of, like, when you are in a vortex. So in Sedona, for example, and you're in that space, you're going to have animals show up. So it was kind of like a warning to say that Sedona is loaded with rattlesnakes. And so to be aware of that, if you guys have been to Saguaro National Park in, I believe, Tucson, most like concentrated area of rattlesnakes. So I was going to go there once and film a video when I went to the Tucson Gem Show, and I didn't, and I'm fine with that decision. So let me kind of come back here to snakes. So when, you see that symbol, it's going to mean, like I said, that really dramatic rebirth. And now it's the time for you to assert yourself and assert those boundaries. So we talked about, like, in religion, okay, is this higher? Is this lower? Is this the devil? Is this the healer? It goes through all these things. And I want to kind of focus on some cultures right now. So we talked about Native Americans and the importance of serpent medicine. What it also does is they say it activates in you, like, the kill or the cure, right? And what that happens is, it's like, okay, a very dramatic, profound healing will happen. But let's take a step back. This represents homeopathy. How many of you guys take homeopathics, right? You have a little bit of the poison for the cure. So, if you physically take them like I do, kind of think about that. Yeah, I'm taking homeopathic for X, Y, and Z. So if you're taking it for something like pathogenic, you're being exposed to that. A lot of frequency work. You're getting the frequency of that so your body can harmonize and heal and detox. So it's very powerful in that way. So, think about the different poisons, energetic, whatever's happening, your life experiences. You know what that is. You're going to transmute it. Now, we also know in ancient Greece, it was a symbol of alchemy. We know that Hermes carried his staff, right, with the two intertwined snakes. And we know his symbol in the medical industry, except, I've got opinions about that industry, which I think you can discern, since I spent most of the time talking about homeopathy here. But it does represent the healing and the wisdom that goes into it. And what do we know about Shiva? Shiva wears snake bracelets, right? And necklaces. So I believe that is understood to mean sexual energy, sexuality. And, the snake has been a symbol for that. Of course, the creative life force, of course, the Kundalini, the serpent fire. The serpent is the patron god, we know, of the Toltecs. In Chinese astrology, if you are born with year of the snake, it's, known as clairvoyance. So that's a big thing. Charm as well, just compassion and that deep, deep wisdom. It's funny, David, I want to point this comment out. You said the reptilians. I know, because I had a very big charge around snakes. When I woke up, when I went through my big, massive spiritual awakening, it wasn't this blissful, like, we are one moment. It was, there's reptilians, and we are their food source. And when I was in that fear vibration, I was having all these like astral encounters where I would be in sleep paralysis, and I saw giant cobras and alligators. And when I clear reptilian ET implants in healing sessions, I will track the race it comes from. And mostly I'm clearing reptilian energy, gray energy. When I learned how to do this, the first night I came back from my shamanic healing, I have this dream where I'm in this like really kind of white Art Deco gorgeous building, and there's this fireplace, and I see a lizard, and it falls in front of me. And then I went into this like crazy paralysis, and then I woke up, and the information I was getting was that these forces did not like what I was clearing and doing, which of course made me do it even more because I'm a Sag and I'm a healer, and that's what I'm here to do. So with that said, I know exactly what you mean by that. And it's funny because there are, if we talk about what's evolving, well, maybe the ET race of the reptilians, are evolving. And it's been said that, some are kind of going more into the light and going through their own process of ascension. But what I also know is I know what that energy feels like. I know what it interferes with. And so I also know to have no fear about that, because fear is their food source. I did not expect to go on a whole thing about the reptilians, but I hope you guys learned something from that and that information. In my shamanic training, they create this fear because they cannot reach the higher dimensions and densities. So that's what they want to keep us trapped in the third dimension as a food source. So also know there's a lot of political association with the reptilians. A lot of celebrities look reptilian. A lot of them love it. All your like beloved political figures that you guys love, not you guys are discerning, but oh yeah, they have communication and contact with the reptilian races. So I love talking about ETs. I'll do it all day. We'll see what happens with this channel, but no, we'll keep it going. So I'm glad you brought that up. I really did want to talk about that. So as we continue though, we can see that there is, the symbolism. We can talk about the ET race. We're talking about the power, and we are talking about the alchemy and the importance of snake energy and the feminine. We can even say creating that fear of reptilians or fear is another fear, another way to oppress that feminine energy. But that's not what we're doing. I can actually go into a whole transmission about that, but we'll get back on track here with snake energy before we wrap up here. Now, remember ancient Egypt? Very, very important energy update I did back in June, where we described lapis lazuli. And so in ancient Egypt, snakes had a huge mystical significance. So when we talk about, wearing the headband too, where the snake is, it kind of falls. Where the third eye is, well, that's enlightenment, that's information. That is also about moving between life and death for rebirth and the spirit world as well. I had something I just wanted to share with you guys, and it just left because I was trying to get my thoughts out about this. But maybe it'll come to me, or I guess if it left, I wasn't supposed to say it. But snake around the brow is your third eye. And so people who are initiated would wear that too. And then, it's known to represent a variation too of the Eye of Horus, or maybe some people see it as the Eye of Ra. Very important symbology. And it's about healing, and it's about enlightenment and being able to move, like I said, between multiple worlds. Now, I created harmony with the serpent symbol through shamanism. Such an important concept and connection. And of course, it's connected to divine wisdom. But, shamans also see it as like, so, when snakes, like their eyes kind of like cloud over, this is about like being in that space where you're kind of going through different worlds, and then you are kind of stepping into more clarity. If we think about snakes, like they can put people, they say, in hypnosis, right? It's very like trance-like, and that does represent their ability to move between all the worlds, and then their eyes clear, and then they see the world through a higher perspective. So if a snake enters your life, you're going to see the world from a higher perspective. If it comes across from you, we can also link that back to epiphanies, right? And the other big thing here, I want to talk about snakes and what this represents. Most importantly is when we talk about epiphany, we talk about all the things we survive, right? We talk about what is coming up for us in this Chiron and retrograde. Think about the poisons of our traumas that we survive. What do we talk about with Native American culture? And we talked about, well, if your body survived that poison, you can survive all the poisons of the world. You survived your trauma. Just think of what you can survive. Yep, you can transmute all the other poisons of the world. That's how powerful you are. And that's why it's such an important symbol. And that's why when we think about epiphany, maybe your epiphany is just what you survived and what you can transmute. Because when we do this, we get to access our new life. And that's the rebirth. That's the resurrection. It's so powerful. The other thing about it is it does represent us awakening to something new within ourselves, our power, our creative life force, right? New connections, new relationships. Your intuition becomes more accurate. You know how to yield that energy. If the snake is your animal totem personally, it also means that you can absorb so much information. It's never enough. It's never enough. There's always, I forgot to mention about Celeste is that it brings in so much harmony for your relationships. So to take a step back for a moment, because I don't want to forget this, look at the harmony once again with the celestite, right? This is a crystal for relationships. So we talked about Mercury retrograde, right? Relationships coming in and out. This will promote that emotional intelligence in those relationships. So working with this, you're going to identify your feelings, you're going to be able to communicate, talk about it, problem solving, resolution. Sometimes people get this to attract a relationship into their lives. So if you're doing that, what you're saying is, well, I want one that represents serenity and peace, somebody I can heal with, right? So I didn't want to forget that, because also with snake energy, that is representing transmuting the poison. So whether you see that as an old relationship with yourself, pair this together, because this totem as well is going to be that discernment in relationships, that clarity, and really hitting the mark with what you're calling into your life. And there's another thing I want to suggest before we kind of wrap up and go into the question and answer here. Snakes have like no eyelids, right? It's kind of intense. They're very hypnotic. And they say, okay, you look into a snake's eyes, they're not blinking. I see this as intimacy. So one thing I want to recommend for this update is to connect to that intimacy and pick somebody you can soul gaze with, okay? So what that means is you guys are just going to sit across from each other. And this is like anybody. This is not a partner, do this with a friend. I once did this at this actual astrology event my friend had at a yoga studio. And it was like my first time taking part in something like that, like a group class. And they all knew each other. I didn't know anyone there. And so I was doing this soul gazing with a stranger, and she was like crying, and my eyes are really intense. But, like snakes. And I'm going to get to that in a minute. But soul gaze, sit across from someone, just take 5 minutes. If you can do 5 minutes, take a few minutes. It's so powerful and healing. This will improve intimacy in your life. I know so many people who love this. And when you're doing that, you're going to notice their eyes change, just kind of look like little universes, and you're going to get a lot of downloads. Very important to do. So if you want to start with 1 minute, the other thing I suggest, and I've told clients to do this, soul gaze with your inner child. Look in the mirror, look yourself in the eye, soul gaze with yourself. I also extend this practice and say I love you to yourself 20 times to kind of activate that sort of healing. But for intimacy purposes, maybe you start with yourself first. Okay, you're comfortable with yourself. Just do this with another person. Do this month. That might create more of that epiphany energy, okay? Basically, how this is also related to the snake is that so it's about using your eyes to just see and look into someone else's heart. Use your eyes to look into someone's soul. We've heard that quote, right? The eyes are the doorway of the soul. Use the eye contact for more love in your life. Okay. And funny enough, this all comes from snake symbolism, the thing that people have associated as being dark or demonic. So, it's really powerful, because that's what traditional snake medicine is going to teach. Looking directly at something, get to the heart of it, see the soul of something, right? It can just represent also where do we need to look more closely at ourselves. And that's really funny because that is what December is all about. So let's all tie this together. This Chiron in retrograde is having us look so deeply at ourselves, the karmic lessons, the wounding. Now we have Mercury in retrograde that's been telling us to slow down, go inside, be introspective. This new moon on Saturday is doing the same thing. What is winter solstice? Your invitation to slow it down, go still, go quiet, and also look within. Do you see how this is all tying together so beautifully? Now we have Celestite as well. That's also telling us you are, essentially just higher dimensional being. You can call it angelic being, whatever resonates with you. You can trust your own divine self, your own divine wisdom. And the snake is also representing knowing thyself and going inside and transmuting the poisons of life, of our personal traumas, of what people have spewed at us, how people see your reputation. See what I did? That's just for me. So with that said, and what's the snake gonna do is snake totem people transmute the poison. Poison, that's funny. Transmute the poison. See the true self, embody the true self. See and know your own ancient wisdom and use this all together in the present moment to have your epiphany. And that's my mic drop, and that is my December energy update. So, any questions from anybody? How are you feeling after that? Have you had an epiphany yet? Am I frozen and have I just been talking to myself this whole time? Oh, let's see. Okay, thank you. Let's see. We got some questions, so we're going into our Q&A. Let's see what we have here. Does serpentine relate with these snake energies at all, or is it something else? I have a good piece that feels like it helps with transformation. Serpentine absolutely relates. A lot of serpentine, good serpentine, comes from Washington State, which is really interesting. And when I went to Serpent Mound in Ohio 2 summers ago, I bought serpentine, or my friend bought it for me to represent that. Serpentine absolutely holds similar energy. So I would absolutely bring that in. And it's so funny you mentioned that, Shannon, because I was like, well, Celestite's the crystal of the month, and literally have my serpentine over there. And I was like, okay. I see why. I see with all that poison transmutation, we want something to hold us, right? Something so loving and gentle as we heal. Oh, but serpentine energy, that's going to activate that within you. It's supportive of shadow work. It's supportive of so many things. You're going to want the serpentine energy to help you enter a new cycle. So when we talk about birth, death, rebirth, just all that good stuff, highly recommended. And my piece is kind of like a very beautiful, like lime green. So it totally represents that energy. So let's see, Robin, what about dragon's blood? I don't have any dragon's blood, but what I do know is that it has a very highly symbolism for alchemical transmutation as well. It kind of brings you up to that next vibrational level of state of whatever breakthrough that you are creating. It is mystical. Think of like, so when I tap into the energy of it, I kind of think of like Camelot and the mystery of alchemy and chalices and all those things. So that's going to represent extremely deep transmutation from a lower to a higher state. So let's see. Anyone have any other questions related to the crystal of the month, to the snake animal totem, or what you need to do? I highly recommend focusing on creating that crystal grid. And just to sort of recap before we all say goodbye for the night, remember that like you can keep the crystals on your intentions list or note card as long as you want to. You want to do it, I would say at least an hour. Very important. So if you want to do it for a week and really like take your time, add intentions as you go along, perfect. The only important thing you really need to remember is that this is coming from you. You are infusing it with your divine power and your energy. So once again, you guys, thank you so much for joining this energy update. Thank you everyone who watches live. I love seeing your comments and interacting with you. And also everyone watching this on the replay. I want to wish you guys a beautiful, powerful December. I hope that this is a month of all kinds of epiphanies for you, whether it's that one big one or just these little ones that build up to you really loving yourself, reclaiming your power, and moving into 2025 with utmost confidence. That's what we're all going to do. Remember, we will have a January update. I will likely do a live stream at the end of this month, or I might flow and put something else out there. Regardless, you are so prepared for this new year. Have a beautiful solstice. Have a beautiful month. I love you guys. Thank you.